If you're still waiting for an answer to something you prayed for, this video is for you. If you prayed months ago, maybe years ago, and that question keeps going through your mind, did God forget about me? Stop, watch, because I'm going to tell you this. God has not forgotten your prayer. There is a truth throughout the Bible, and once you see this truth, the meaning of waiting changes. A delay is not the same as being forgotten. Hannah prayed for a child for years. Zechariah and Elizabeth waited for decades. And no matter how long the waiting season was in the Bible, God never forgot a single prayer. And maybe yours is the same. Today we're going to talk about 5 signs that God hasn't forgotten your prayer. And if a few of these signs are in you, that feeling of being forgotten may not be reflecting the truth. Now maybe this is going through your mind, but it's really been a long time. I prayed and nothing has changed. That's easy to say, but hear this. An unanswered prayer is not an unheard prayer. When you send a letter and no reply comes, you don't assume the letter was never read. Maybe the reply is being written. Maybe the timing isn't right yet. God's silence is the same. Silence is not indifference. And not understanding this difference keeps many people in an unnecessary feeling of abandonment for years. This is more important than you think, because the belief, God forgot my prayer, leads to stopping prayer altogether. If you stop praying, a real silence forms, and that silence reinforces the belief that, I really was forgotten. But the starting point was wrong. The feeling was not the truth. Here are 5 signs that God hasn't forgotten your prayer. Sign 1, that prayer is still alive inside you. Wait a moment and think about this. If you truly believe God had forgotten that prayer, you would have let it go from your mind long ago. But you still think about it. You still hope. You still quietly repeat it sometimes. This is not a coincidence. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. God placed a longing in your heart, and if that longing hasn't closed, it's a sign that what you're waiting for is still alive. Something that was truly forgotten doesn't stay this alive in the heart. Sign 2, you grew even while waiting. This is a sign most people don't notice. You are different now than you were when you first prayed this. More patient, deeper, maybe less controlling. Maybe trusting God more and relying less on your own strength than before. This change didn't happen in a vacuum. James 1:3-4 says, The testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Patience is proof that God has been shaping you while you wait. And if you're being shaped, you're not forgotten. You're being prepared. Sign 3, you receive small reminders at exactly the right time. This sign is subtle but very real. A verse stops you. A song shows up on exactly the right day. A friend, without knowing it, says something about exactly that topic. These are not coincidences. Psalm 145:18 says, The Lord is near to all who call on Him. Someone who is near sends small reminders. Because He isn't completely silent, He just hasn't given the full answer yet. If you've been noticing these small reminders, that's proof of God's closeness. Sign 4, the longest waits in the Bible ended with the greatest answers. Hannah suffered for years before receiving Samuel. Zechariah and Elizabeth carried the shame of childlessness for decades before receiving John. Abraham waited 25 years before receiving Isaac. And in every case, the length of the waiting was proportional to the size of the answer. Galatians 6:9 says, Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. At the proper time. Pay attention to that phrase. Not early, not late. At the proper time. If your wait has been long, that may be a sign of how great the answer is. Sign 5. You are still praying. This might be the simplest sign, but the most powerful one. If you were truly hopeless, you would have stopped praying long ago. But you're still here, still speaking, still hoping. Hebrews 6:10-11 says, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him. God does not forget your labor. And your perseverance, the fact that you're still praying, that is also labor. Labor that will not be overlooked. Now I need to stop here and be honest. Not every delay is a preparation. Sometimes what we want is not God's plan for us, and a no answer is also an answer, not being forgotten. And sometimes there's also a step we need to take for what we're praying for, and waiting alone isn't enough. But if you're still hoping, still praying, still growing, these signs show that God is not silent. He just hasn't spoken yet. So what will you do now? First, write your prayer down. Write what you're praying for and when you started. This makes your waiting concrete and strengthens your testimony when the answer comes. Second, see your waiting as an offering, not a complaint. Say, God, I'm giving you this waiting. This is a small change in language, but it lightens the weight. Third, read the stories of Hannah, Zechariah, and Abraham. However long their wait was, the answer was waiting for them. So is yours. God never loses a single prayer. The letters were not unread. They're simply not yet answered. Hannah waited, and Samuel came. Zechariah waited, and John came. Abraham waited, and Isaac came. And in every case, the waiting ended exactly in its proper season. If you're still waiting for an answer today, stop for a moment and know this. God's memory is stronger than your patience. Write this in the comments. God, you know my prayer, and I trust your timing. Let that not just be a comment, let it be a declaration of faith. And if this video gave you hope, send it to someone going through the same waiting right now. Maybe they need this today. Subscribe for more content, because here we don't just create content, we are after real transformation.